Hello everyone! With me Nadiya Kaltsum Ulayya with the student number 0601128025044. So today in this video I will do my extensive reading final test and I will be answering the question from our lecture. So let's get into it with the first question. So the first question, I will explain to you the character and the characteristic from each character. So let's start with the protagonist. The first one is Anwar. Anwar is a person, in my opinion, he is a brave person, stubborn and bossy. Why I say so? Because he is brave to do something new that some people afraid to do it. And then he is stubborn because he wants to do that things without any people opinion. He is brave enough and he's stubborn to do it. And then he is bossy because he always order people to do something that he want. And then another character is Rosie. In my opinion, the characteristic of Rosie is strong, submissive, and brave. Why I say so? Because in the story we know that Rosie hold Henry's arm, another character, again I will explain later. He hold Henry's arm with a strong, and we know from that story Rosie is strong, and he is also submissive because he have to do anything what Anwar ordered him to do. So that's why I'll say he is submissive. And then he is also brave because he is in the team of Anwar to do things that I will explain later. And then the next character is Henry. In my opinion, Henry's characteristic is afraid. Why I'll say so? Because he is afraid to do the move and to save their country, which is Canada in this place, and he is afraid to join and to save his family to join the plan of Anwar. And then the next character is the father of Anwar. In my opinion, his characteristic is brave and also wise. Wise I say because in the text, in the story, we know the author said that the father is kind of person who is brave to do something, whether he is in a good condition or a bad condition, because he said in the story when his wife is gone, he is still to do things that is unusual for other people if they still in a grave. And he also wise because he is always mentioned to Anwar to be a great person, to be a brave person, do not afraid of someone, because in the story we know that Anwar is being, we can say, bullied by some kids. And then the last character in the story, in my opinion, is General Campbell. Well, General Campbell is not having a conversation in the story, but he is mentioned in the story. So in my opinion, his characteristic is kind of problematic because in the story we know, as Henry said, General Campbell is under investigation for misuse of government funds. So let's jump to the next question from the question 1, which is plot. So I'll explain you the plot of this story. The first one is exposition. So in this exposition, Anwar wait for the person he wait with kind of feeling of afraid, and who he wait is Henry in the Parliament building. And then the rising action, Henry comes with a person called Rosie with a confusing face. And then the climax one, Anwar and Henry start having an argument about Henry's plan. And then the following action, and Henry refused to join Anwar plans, and Anwar put him in a prison. And then the resolution, Anwar nostalgic about his event with his father, his past event with his father and him in a ship. And then he ready for another activity as mentioned in the last paragraph later. So the next one is the setting of this story. So start with the setting, please. The first one is Parliament Building in Ottawa, which is the capital city of Canada. And then there's another place which is the ship where Anwar and his father, the past event. And then the setting time, it is during the storm at night. And then the atmosphere of the story is tense because we can feel the tenses in this story. So let's jump to the second question. So the second question is, I will tell you about the summary of this story. So in this story, there's a person named Anwar who wanted to change the democratic country into democratic one because he saw at that moment the stakeholder of this country, which is Canada, but he is in the capital city of Canada, and even not even paying attention to what happened to the society that caused into the storm, because at that moment there is the fourth storm for them at the time, which is unusual. And Anwar have a plan, a goal to change or to change the position of the stakeholder at the time to him, because he has a great plan for the country. And then he invited his opposite, invited Henry, which is the opposite team, the leader of the opposite team, to join his plan, to join his idea. But sadly, Henry was afraid because he is afraid that the plan was not going to be good, or Anwar will lose with that plan. And then after Anwar invited Henry refused because he is afraid, and Anwar put him in a prison, and Henry was confused and still don't know what to do. And after that, Anwar sat in front of the fireplace. He's thinking in the past event of his father and him when he was a little kid. He's thinking, he's kind of sleepy but not sleeping. He's thinking, he warmed himself in front of the fireplace. He nostalgic about the event between he and his father. His father told him to be brave, to be a brave man in the future. Do not afraid of anything if he is doing a true thing, a right thing. And then when he is still thinking, nostalgic, he is regretting something about the story when his father doing something, he is regretting that, but when he was still thinking it, he glitched because he is ready for another activities. So that's the summary of this story. And then let's start with the third question, which is reader response. A, what can you predict after reading the story? So in my opinion, I can predict that when Anwar said he is ready for another activities, I can assume that the plan of him will be going well and he will achieve the goals, which is to change the democratic country to a democratic one and make the better future for the country and save the world for the country and also save the climate change. And then B, what connection do you feel experienced between the title and the recent weather condition? So the first time I read about this story, I directly thinking and connected it to what happened to Indonesian in the past which is on the Indonesian Independence Day. The young group of Indonesian forces the older group of Indonesian, which is Sukarno and Muhammad Hatta, to do the declaration for Indonesian Independence Day at the time. But but the older group refused to do so. So the younger group kidnapped the older group and forced them to write down the declaration to be held the next day, which is 17th of August 1945. And I directly thinking about it, although there's no connection with the weather, but I connected it with the event happened between Anwar and Henry, which Anwar forces Henry to join them, and then he put in the prison. And that was I thinking. And if I connected it with the weather condition, well, Indonesia although we only have 2 seasons in Indonesia, which is rainy and hot, but there's some time in Indonesia we call it pancaroba, which is happened without knowing and will happen by the world, by the earth, when they want to do it because the effect of anything, global warming and something. So that's happened. And a lot of if the storm happened to some religion, some region, it will damage the house. And it also happened in Indonesia, although we only have 2 seasons in Indonesia. And the C question, what is my favorite part of this story, and which part of the story that I cannot find interesting one? So my favorite part of this story when Anwar said to Henry, with or without you, this plan will be happen and I will win. I just wait for your confirmation to join or no. So I like this energy, and I love when Anwar with his confidence and audacity to say that this plan will happen without or with Henry to join it, and he will win. And I love that audacity because we have to have that kind of confidence, although we're sometimes having an insecurity, but with saying that word out from ourselves, it will boost our confidence, and it will sometimes what we say in mind, it will happen in the real life. For example, we said that I can do this, and yeah, it happened, we can do that. And then the part when I cannot find interesting is when the author tells the reader about Anwar backgrounds with his father. I cannot find it interesting because I don't think there's something correlation between it. It is there correlation, but it's too much for me to read that part, because we can say that Anwar's father make him brave or something without telling the all story of Anwar backgrounds at the time. And the D, what can I tell about Anwar's condition if we connect it to the title? So what, in my opinion, Anwar's condition, if I connect it to the story, it can be like this. There's a storm which is the Prime Minister and the stakeholder of Ottawa, which is the capital city of Canada, and the stakeholder of it cannot control the society and cannot control the effect of what society have done to Earth and caused the storm. And Anwar as a hero here to solve the problem, and he's going into the storm. It can be said the storm is actual storm, but also it can be interpreted as the stakeholder which do not pay attention to what happened and causes the storm. And Anwar entered to the group to break down, to change the system, the government system, the system of the government of Ottawa, and to make the better future and the better weather for Ottawa itself. and Anwar can take care the Ottawa in a good way. So that's what I can tell. What is the correlation or the connection between the title with Anwar condition? And the fourth question, what is the cultural value and moral value that I can get from the story? So let's start with cultural value. So the cultural value I thought at first at the moment is that the way when the foreign people or the Western people, they have a storm, they have a cold weather, they will sit at the fireplace and warm the body of them. Just like this picture I will put here later. They will do that kind of activities. Where Indonesia, although we have that cold weather sometimes, but it's rare, but we don't need something to warm ourselves up in the fireplace, and I think there's no such a fireplace in Indonesia. And the second cultural value that I found is the people of the Western people, which and in the precise Ottawa person, they love to use coat in the house, although in the house, and in the using shawl in the cold weather. Although in Indonesia, maybe we'll just use sweater or only a thin jacket to use, because I personally, if I use a thick or I use a big jacket, I will feel hot, although it is a cold weather. And then the third cultural value in this story, I found out that the parent teach the children by the action. For example, in this story, Anwar's father teach him the action to not afraid of something and doing it each action, while in Indonesia I found a lot of parents do not do that because they are afraid that the children will be hurt or something. For example, if the children have a hobby or have something that he likes in a cooking or she likes in a cooking, but the parent usually forbid them to do cook because they are afraid that the children will be hurt or they will cut themselves or something. But that's actually not true to do the things like that. We have to tell them in action by showing them and also see them to do this, so we will minimize something bad happen to the children. And then the next one is moral value. What I can get from the story is do not afraid to do something good if you are in the right place. Do not afraid if you have a good goal, even some people do not agree with you, because there will be some people there. They don't want to have a good things in their life. They want to do bad thing as long as they get some beneficial from that thing. So the moral value is that don't afraid to do something good. Be brave as long as you are in the right position. So that's all what I can explain from the story. I hope you enjoyed the story, and goodbye.